Hello, hello. Welcome back to the 10th edition of That Mill podcast, 22-23 season. My name's Omer. Joining me to my right-hand side is Kai Bennett. Hello, mate. You all right?
Yeah, I'm all good, man. I'm all good. Nice to be back. How are you?
Yeah, it's been a little while since I've seen your face. I did say that earlier. But yeah, it's good to have you back on board, mate. You went away on holiday, didn't you, I think, right?
Yeah, 10 days. It was nice, but missed Millwall too much, so that's why I came back.
You did get to Norwich, of course, but we'll talk about that in more detail in a bit. And obviously, below me, we've got Chris Chapman. Hello, mate. You all right?
Hello. How's it going, mate? How was 2 away games for you?
Interesting. Let's put it that way. We'll talk obviously about both away games, I'm sure, in a minute. I need to keep going with the first name, last name. So Joe Sarifa, I'm going to go with. I'm like,
you sound like a drug dealer there or something.
Look at me. I'm going for all the first name, last names here. So hello Joe. You all right,
mate? I'm good, thanks. How you doing, fellas? You all good?
Yeah, we're all good, aren't we? Right? Millwall got 4 points from 9. I mean, Kai, 4 from 9 is not too bad, right?
No, it's not bad at all. I mean, Norwich 2 away games in there as well, and we've been struggling away for a little while now. So I would have taken a point against Swansea, and obviously the way it happened, it felt like a win, didn't it? When I woke up the next morning, it felt like a win. Coventry was a brilliant win as well, and then Norwich, I just felt that I thought first half we did control quite a lot of the game, and we managed to keep Norwich quite at bay a lot of it. In the second half, there's a moment of I think a little lapse in concentration for their first goal. Second goal, you could argue it's foul. But the subs came on, Vogtslammer and Fleming, and they look really good. So it's exciting. It's positive going forward now to see them two hopefully in action soon.
We'll talk more at length about that in part number 1 anyway. If you're new around here, be sure to like the video, subscribe if you're new. If you're listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, be sure to give us a review as well. Any sort of feedback's always greatly appreciated. And check us out on our podcast socials at That Mill Pods on Twitter and TikTok and Facebook. So let's crack on to the first part of the show. All right, first part of the show, we're here. Come on, Chris, talk to me about the last couple of games. How have you felt Millwall have done? Obviously, Kai done a little interlude for us there before we went into part 1. Happy with the last week or so for Millwall in general, mate?
Not really, if I'm being honest. I think, look, 4 points from those games is not necessarily a bad return when you consider the opposition we faced and the travelling we had to do. However, the manner in which we've got those 4 points, we had to come from behind against Coventry. Obviously, the Swansea game was, we were awful in that first half and had 2 late goals. And then the Norwich game, I actually think, was the better away performance out of the 2, actually, even though we got done 2-0. So I'm feeling just a bit indifferent at the moment, if I'm being honest. I think we've got to try and sort out this away form. But yeah, I guess if we can beat Reading, 6 games, 10 points, I think we'd all be quite happy with that. So let's see where we end up.
I mean, Joe, I know you've been away the last couple and not really caught too much of the games, but obviously I know you've seen the highlights and stuff like that, mate. I agree with Chris there. I think actually our best performance last week, or best half of football we played, was maybe the first half against Norwich on Friday night. And I was quite surprised how we played that. But I mean, the away form, as Chris touched on there, it's been a bit tricky for us. And I think trying to find that remedy seems to be the immediate concern, really, I think, for Gary Rowett at the moment.
Yeah, it seems to be either one way or the other for us, doesn't it? We tend to have a season where we're doing really well away from home and not doing too brilliantly at home. That's mainly during the COVID sort of period. Last season, obviously, we had a very good, strong home record. Away, not so great. And we just can't seem to kind of work it out at the minute. I mean, what's probably more concerning for me is the goals we're shipping in at the moment. I mean, no one's really, okay, you can argue Cresswell's a new addition to our defence, but really, you've still got Hutch in there, you've still got Cooper, you've got Murray Wallace. And for us to concede 2 goals in the last, is it 4 matches? I think it is. 3 games, 3 matches.
4 matches.
Yeah, we haven't kept a clean sheet since, I think it's like the first game of the season. So that's probably more concerning for me. I never thought that'd be a worry for me, because if anything, I think we care more about the attacking end, don't we? We don't score enough goals, blah, blah, blah. And we still don't score enough goals, to be honest with you. But what's more concerning is that we're leaking goals. And, it wasn't too long ago when we're complaining about drawing 0-0 for games, and against tough oppositions and getting points away from home, stuff like that, where I think we'll take that at the moment. Yeah, just have a couple of clean sheets. It'd be good. But yeah, I'm not quite sure what the answer is, or what the problem is, or where it lies. But all I can think of at the minute is we know Rowett's quite defensive minded, but is he too defensive from the off? It does need to kind of go for it a little bit more. I'm not saying he's got to play 5 forwards or anything and play 2 at the back, but just in the way we play our style. Our wing backs, and we all touched on this. I think Chris touched on it on his commentary after the game as well. Our wing backs don't push up high enough on the pitch. I think we did it really well against Stoke, but we haven't really sort of done it well enough since. And that's probably a contributing factor in our lack of attacking options at the moment. We're not really creating much in the final third because our fullbacks and wingbacks don't get high up the pitch and influence the game, I guess, in that area.
I think going into the weekend's football before the Norwich game, I think we were the joint top goal scorers in the league. So it's a bit weird. I agree with you there as well, because obviously with the formation, the stigma is it's defensive, and it is by and large. We've got a helping hand from Swansea on Tuesday night. I mean, obviously 2 great own goals, Kai, towards the end of the game there, mate. What is it for you? I mean, obviously, firstly, that Swansea game, ridiculous ends. Obviously, I was down there at Swansea and, made the trip worthwhile. I'll be honest, I was contemplating leaving early at the time. I don't normally leave games early either anyway, chaps. Like, I'm kind of like, no, I'm not leaving. But when you drive 4 hours a day, you're thinking, for fuck's sake, what's going on here? And especially the first 57 seconds to go 1-0 down. But Kai, if you drum into them games as well, I think aside from Norwich, there are 3 games in example there: Sheffield United, Coventry, and Swansea. Inside 25 minutes, we're 2-0 down in all 3 games there. Obviously, Friday's the exception because I feel like we gave it a go in the first half there, Kai. But that's got to be obviously something that's got to be addressed. And obviously, defensively, what is it for you that maybe could be changed in the back 5, maybe, or the formation, perhaps? Is there anything that stands out for you, mate?
Well, firstly, I think the 2 goals that we scored later on against Swansea, as you mentioned before, that any striker's proud of them goals. That is a superb finish from both of them. But no, I agree. I think especially the Coventry game for me is the one that sort of stands out. I think the first goal maybe potentially is a little bit of loose marking in the box, maybe just losing concentration a little bit. And the second goal, to be fair, his second goal is a really good finish by Godden. But I just wonder whether potentially we're almost going forward, maybe trying to be too free going forward, and maybe we haven't got that. Maybe I don't know. It's difficult to put your finger on it. But like last season, as we said, we maybe weren't as attacking as we would have liked to be, but we were stronger defensively. Maybe this year, maybe we actually are being more attacking, but it's maybe we're not seeing it as much. But maybe it's more subtle in subtle moments, and maybe therefore there's players leaving maybe out of position or having to run back and lose. And it could also be the fact that maybe on the transition that other teams maybe are stronger, maybe quicker than us and quicker to react. I don't know. It's hard without sort of analysing every game. It's difficult to sort of put your finger on it. But I think one thing's for sure: we need to settle the back 5. Whichever back 5 Gary Rowett thinks is the best back 5. As long as they all stay injury free, you need to be, I reckon, play them all at the same time from the start every game. That's the only way they build up an understanding between each other. Especially with Charlie Cresswell coming in, who looks brilliant. It looks brilliant bit of recruitment. Apart from obviously that Sheffield United goal that he gave away, he's been pretty good, I think. But if you think he is the man in there, play him week in, week out, get that understanding between the players going, and hopefully that will improve it.
I think, Chris, you touched on the Swansea game when Sean Hutchinson came in, and I think obviously afterwards, you can see his influence on the back 5. I think I saw it too, obviously being there at Swansea, and you could just see his calming influence on the defence. I felt like he was there, brought into the side. Cooper was hooked off, and then Cooper was dropped consequently for Friday. I'm going to pick on Scott Malone a little bit, and I feel like it's going to open up a little bit of topic of conversation here. And I think, Joe, we spoke about it on shows as well, didn't we, mate? Where we said in pre-season he looks a bit off it. I don't know, Chris, what you think, mate, but I feel like Malone's a bit of a weak link there. And maybe we're talking. Obviously, we're in August at the moment. Is that maybe an area maybe we need to address in this window? Because I don't think Malone's terrible by any stretch of imagination, but I said the same thing in pre-season. I'm saying it now. I think he lost that little bit of pace he might have had last season, which wasn't a lot of pace in the first place, but he just looks a yard off it for me, mate. I don't know what you think.
No, I agree. And I think playing the role that he has to play, you have to be incredibly fit and athletic. to play that role, because you're up and down, particularly if we want to be supporting moving, like in terms of, because that's our only width, really. The way we play now, the wing backs are our only width. I do think he's a bit off it, whether that's confidence, whether that's just, I think he's 31. I don't know. But ultimately at the moment he plays regardless, because I know people say play Murray Wallace there. I don't think he's the answer. I think he can fill in there, but I don't think he's the answer at left wing back personally. And Topolo, do you throw him into, Norwich away when he's played once, against Dartford or he didn't play against Cambridge City. So I do think Malone has been a bit of a weak link, but I don't think he's the only one, to be honest. I think you touched on Cooper there. I think Cooper's had a really poor start to the season. He doesn't look the same player without Hutch, whether that's Hutch's influence on him or whether that's because he doesn't have to have the armband, so it's like additional responsibility. You see cricket captains go to pieces when they become a captain, and so I don't know if it's the similar sort of concept there. I don't think Muzza has had the greatest start, and I don't think Danny Mack has, to be honest. I don't think Danny Mack's done anything wonderful, and I blame him as much as I do Malone for the second goal at Norwich, because there's two of them there, they have to deal with it. So I think, trying to sort of analyse it, we've got some players that are underperforming at the moment. I think we've got some players that are making individual errors. Obviously, the Cresswell one was an individual error. You could put the second goal at Norwich as individual errors. The goal against Swansea, where Cooper got done like a kipper, I class that as an individual error. And then I also think we've got to give credit to some of the teams we've played. I think Coventry, Norwich, Sheffield United, Swansea, I would imagine all of them will be top half teams, all pushing for the playoff places. And they all play much better football than us. Let's be real. They're an attacking, free-flowing team. So I'd be more concerned if that was Birmingham, Reading, Rotherham than the teams we're playing. So I'm not going to panic too much just yet. But I think there's a few things going on. As I say, players a little bit off it, individual errors, but also a bit of credit to the teans we played.
It's good that we got Burnley away next game anyway after Saturday, guys. All right, so yeah, I think I said like at the start of the season, like our start to the season away from home, like we just had to win our home games, and so far that's come to fruition, I suppose, and that keeps it at least we're still in the mixer, so to speak, and that's important because I feel like the away games were always going to be tough for us, especially going on the form of last season. I mean, Joe, I'm going to throw you a curveball and say, is it the formation? Is this something that, because I feel quite strongly about this at the minute after the last couple of games. I feel like I don't enjoy the setup, especially when you've got Bury and Afobe up top. You've got two strikers quite isolated, and then you play Holman in the 10, who naturally kind of gravitates a bit more into the midfield, I feel like at times. Maybe it will change when Fleming comes back in, and maybe on Saturday Fleming starts and all the answers are kind of, put to bed and everyone's happy with it. But I feel like, you're playing Bury, who then drifts out wide. You play Afobe, who likes to kind of drift into spaces as well. And then I feel like at times you get the ball up the fields, the wing-backs do commit and come forward, and there's no bodies in the middle. And then if you look at the goals against Swansea, both our goals, we've got bodies in the box. We force mistakes from them. We get players in the wide areas, put good deliveries into the box. You get Bury one-on-one with defenders out wide, and Hazard, something happens from it. But I don't know what you think about the formation. I know obviously it's been good for us because you can't knock it, but I'm struggling with it at the minute personally. I don't know what you think, mate.
Yeah, I mean, the formation, first of all, is a formation we're very familiar with, which is a good thing. You see it as a positive that the players, towards in the last season and this season, you can see that they know their roles, know their positions, where they should be and what they should be doing. Again, against Stoke, we played brilliantly against them, didn't we? It's the same formation then, everything kind of clicked. I think a couple of things. I think we're missing key players. And these are probably the new players that haven't really either found their feet or look at Fleming being injured, hasn't really kind of broken into the team properly yet. You've got Vogstama, who looks really good, who's come off the bench and he's done really well in the minutes that he's played for us. So once these guys start building up their fitness and levels and they're ready to start games, I think Rowett can then start putting players into their position that's going to help benefit the team. I'd like to see Vogstama start. Whether that be up alongside Afobe or Bury or maybe Fleming needs to go in that number 10 role, and then maybe move Honeyman into the centre mid position, because I think against Stoke, if I remember rightly, I think he did play in the centre mid position, didn't he? To start off with, it's only until Fleming went off injured, and he moved Honeyman in number 10. So I think once players are back and he's got a better selection of players to pick from, I think we might see a settled side. I think tactically, though, I'm not quite sure whether it suits us. It probably suits our defenders because not exactly blessed with pace, but us sitting back too deep and allowing the teams to attack us, we don't have the pace up front. We don't have, hey, you know who, anymore to kind of like counter-attack, and unlock these defence or make those runs. There's no explosion of pace when we go from transition from defending to attack. So when you look at the players we've got at our disposal, when they're all fit, the likes of Fleming, Honeyman, Vogslammer, these are technically good players, probably better than what we've ever had in how many years at Millwall. So to suit these technical players, you've got to get them on the ball. You can't just be going direct and getting sort of chase balls. But to get them on the ball, you've got to play a high defensive line, and then the whole team pushed up with them. So we go with a high press on their defenders. We get the ball in danger areas in the final third, and get these key players that we've signed on the ball more often. There's no point feeding them scraps and just going long, going direct, and get them chasing lost causes. We need to be pushing high. Now, like I said, the only thing is defensively, will we leak more goals with fast, pacey forwards? But again, if you've got Leonard there, I think he's quite quick. He's proved against Swansea that amazing tackle he done. Cresswell, as much as I'd rather have Hutch and Cooper, I do miss Cooper in the attacking options from set pieces, free kicks, whether it be indirect, direct, or corners. He is a real massive weapon for us up front, isn't he? In those areas. So yeah, I just think it's basically get players back in, get them playing the right positions, and maybe just play a little bit more of a higher line and a high press, and just go at teams a bit more.
Gotcha. I mean, I agree with everything you said there. I mean, Kai, do you know what Norwich in the first? So we play 5 games this season. Do you know what Norwich did, or what they were for the first time, opposition-wise? What we played against on Friday? Any ideas? I'm a big curveball there.
No, I don't know. What was it?
The first team to play a back 4 this season. So the reason on the formation chat, they're the first. Every team this season we've played so far adopts a back 5. We adopt a back 5. I'm pretty sure about 3/4 of the league adopts a back 5. What's this phenomenon about? What is this about? Like, I don't get it. I like it. It's secure, and obviously, aside from the last 4 games, we conceded 2 goals in each game or more. But like, I don't see it. I don't, especially like the likes of Bury, who you try to bring into the game, and he's a wide player. He's a winger. You get him 1-on-1 with any defender in this league. You look at what he done to Max Aarons on occasions on Friday night. He makes them look silly. And Max Aarons is touted as the best right back in the league, Premier League quality. Exactly. I mean, Chris, I don't know what you make of that. I mean, obviously, I think you said you had a point to make on Bury anyway. I mean, what's your thoughts on the formation? Obviously, your point on Bury as well, mate.
Yeah, I mean, I've got a slightly different view on the formation in the sense that I think people get too hung up on formations because I think, I could be wrong, but I think that they're more fluid than we think they are. I don't think it's necessarily a rigid 5-3-2. I think they are a lot more fluid, and I think it's about putting players in the right areas and picking battles across the pitch. And to your point about Bury and things, so I don't know. I don't think the formation is the problem per se. Would I like to see us play 4 at the back? Yes. I think Millwall sides that have been successful over the years have had 2 up front, 2 strikers, and I like that. And let's be honest, we love a traditional winger, don't we? And I think that's why Tyler Bury is. A lot of us are kind of latching onto him because he is that exciting player that you give him the ball and he probably doesn't even know what he's going to do with it, let alone the defender. And I really like that. And I think he's got such raw talent, but I don't think he's a striker. And this is the point I wanted to make. I think you need to get him 1-on-1 with either the fullback or the right centre back if they're playing a back 3. Because to your point on Max Aarons, he will murder him all day long. But putting him in a 10 where he's either got to try and hold the ball up or he's got his back to goal, that's not his strength. What a position we would be if we could get Bury, Vogelsammer, Afobe and Fleming in a front 4 and have them like fluid. I mean, that genuinely excites me. And to be fair to Raul, he's not had the opportunity to do that yet. So let's see what he does, to Joe's point, when all the players are available and what type of formation and role he gives them all. But it'll probably be Cardiff game before he's actually got that option to him. So yeah, let's see what he does.
I think that's to my point about the formation there. Like we have these creative players and these attackers, and you only got a position for 3 of them in the side and how we set up. And I take your point about it's fluid and it changes, but also we don't have any vocal point up front. And I'll address the elephant in the room. Afobe's yet to get off the mark this season, chaps. And I think that's a tough one to address as well, because everyone says he's not interested. He doesn't look interested. He's never looked interested, Afobe, in my opinion. Like he's not that sort of player to... I think in the second half at Norwich, he actually done that moments, good link-up play, and he was, making a bit of a nuisance of himself. But he's the kind of player that you just want to keep him in the middle of the pitch. You want that presence of someone just lurking in and around the 18-yard box. Kai, like, how do we fix that? Or Afobe needs a goal, basically, doesn't he, mate? And that's got to come, hopefully, on Saturday. But it looks like he needs that kind of moment to spark his season to life, I feel like.
No, he does, yeah. And I just think that with Benik, it's a confidence thing. Once he gets off the mark, I think he'll be the same Benik we saw probably back end of last season and second half of the season. I think that potentially sometimes it's difficult because strikers don't score goals and the strikers get peppered for it. But I just wonder whether it's the service rather than the attacking moments, because he hasn't really had any chances, has he, really, this season? Like any clear cut, I can't really remember any of them.
I picture him in the box once all season. I know it sounds stupid, but second half against Swansea, he has a shot and it's blocked by the defender on the edge of the 6-yard box, and it's blocked then. And I think all season, that's the only time, and maybe Stoke at home, where he made the chance for himself and fashioned it. But he's not in the box either, though. This is back to my argument about how we set up. I feel like I remember, like, in Rout's time, one of the better performances away from home was Swansea away. I think we won 1-0. Jed scores a free kick, but you had Mahoney, Jed, and then you had, I think, up front Bradshaw, and they're busy up front, the 3 of them together. And maybe Fleming coming back into the side changes that. But I mean, I'll open it to who wants to go for it. But I mean, like, is Afobe? Does he need a partner up top with him? I suppose. I mean, Afobe and Bradshaw obviously worked well together at times last season. Do we need maybe another option up there? Who wants to go for that one? I'll open it up to anyone to go for it.
I think, Afobe's not a bad player. I mean, he proved it last season, the goals he scored and the type of goals he scored. They weren't all tap-ins, were they? Some of them were excellent shots from the edge of the 18-yard box. Some of them were with his left foot, right foot. So he's a decent player. Go back to your point with what Kai mentioned this then as well. He hasn't really had a lot of service. He hasn't had many chances. I don't recall him having a lot, to be honest with you. So that must be quite frustrating for him as a player. Every game that goes past him not scoring doesn't help his confidence. Going back to the point we mentioned earlier, I think we need to be a bit more attack-minded, and that means the wing-backs have to really push up high. I mean, we're playing Reading on Saturday, and I know we'll probably do a show later in the week to discuss that game, but they're playing Hoylett at the moment as a wing-back, and I can't remember the other fella now. But these guys almost play as wingers, not wing-back, and they play with a flat-back 5 or 3, what you want to call it. But these guys push high. They are wingers. They're not really fullbacks. And I do think Malone and McNamara need to be a bit more accountable in their performances and really kind of getting those attacking thirds to create these chances for our forwards. Mm-hmm. I think Fobe's fine in playing as a sort of up front with a Bury or whatever it might be, but he just needs service, and at the moment he's not getting much of it. So again, once we get Fleming back, Vogslammer back, starting for us, shall I say, hopefully we can make a better assumption as to how we're doing or how badly we're doing, because we've got the players there who can hopefully do a job for us. And at the minute, I don't think we're quite firing all cylinders because there's still players not available to us,
I think Fleming needs to come in, Kai, and just light the world on fire, right? And just problem solved. So we're all happy then after that, right?
I think Fleming comes back into this. I just saw the little passes he tried the other day against Norwich. You can see the creativity he has. And with him and Benik and, Bury, in behind, and then obviously Vogslammer there as well. I think not only will Fleming be a creative point, but I think Vogslammer will be as well, because you can see his strength. He's the one to hold the ball up, I think, and turn the defenders. He's also actually quite quick as well, which is quite exciting. And obviously, as we've seen, he's got a bloody good strike on him, hasn't he? Like that strike against Swansea, and then obviously one against Norwich where he absolutely hits it. He's got some power behind his strike. So, what I liked about the strikes as well is that he's not afraid to have a go from outside the box, which is really, really good to see. I mean,
but you know what that is, Kai? That's confidence. That is.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Exactly.
And the trouble is, 3 or 4 games go past, he may not score. The fans get on his back, and that confidence is going to go. But at the minute, he's still quite high in confidence, and that's the damaging thing that can happen to our players, can't it?
I think he looks a player as well, and I was going to say, like, I didn't know what to expect from him, to be honest. Like, no one saw much of him, and I think some people were saying he's a bit of a target man, a bit of a nuisance up front, doesn't score many goals. To me, he looks like a wide player almost. I don't know. It's like that game against Swansea where he dinks the keeper and he hits the crossbar. He's so unlucky, and also the shot against Norwich. If you watch it back, like, there's no backlift on his foot. Like, it's just literally in the motion, hit first time. Like, real quality, wasn't it, Chris? I feel like I don't know what you think, mate.
Yeah, he seems to have a bit of everything in his locker. He seems that, Rowett said he can play anywhere along a front three. I think he's, all right, we don't get ahead of ourselves. He's had 2 20-minute cameos, but he's shown a lot of promise in those. And I think a lot of people who, when he signed, were like, oh, what are we signing this person for, blah, 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 blah. You can see quite clearly in those 40 minutes what he's got about him. I guess it's just, do you play him alongside a Phobie? If you do that, do you then drop Bury? And to our point, where do you fit all these players in? But what I would say is it is nice to have options, right? I mean, it's nice to have, all right, we didn't end up scoring on Tuesday, but to have a bench where you can bring Fleming and Vogie on, that's where we should be, right? And I'm still hopeful that we'll bring 1 or 2 more in. So, Kai, I don't know what you think about the start that Vogie's had to his career and where you kind of see him playing.
No, I think Vogie looked really good both games, but I'd also say that when he first signed and we saw his goal record at Union Berlin, I think Gary might have alluded to it a couple of times, and also I've seen where his formation has been, where he's been on the formation when he has come on for Union Berlin. Firstly, he's come on in sort of games in sort of 5-10 minutes to go, and secondly, he's been played a lot on the left. And I think he's much more of a central striker than that. So potentially at Union Berlin, he was played out of position, and now he's played in position. He'll be a lot more effective. I think there was another tweet. I can't remember who tweeted it. It might have been JP Millwall on Twitter. It was a great tweet. It basically said about how many goals he scored per minute or something. If you look at how much he's actually played, and his minutes per goals is actually quite impressive, rather than his stats on Wikipedia where it says like 7 goals in 45 appearances or something like that. So if you get context behind it, he's actually done quite well in the minutes he's played for them. So I think it's an exciting signing, and as long as we play him up front in his main position, which I know obviously I'm sure Gary will, then I think he's going to be a good player for us.
Vogtslammer and Steve Morrison up front 2017 would be a lethal duo. Just putting it out there. Needs to address that. Joe, I mean, I think you said you got something to address about Fleming in the chat there, mate.
Yeah, I think earlier, one of the first sort of game or two when we were kind of questioning about Fleming and these performances, and I think we kind of commented and said about how he was struggling to adapt to the English game. He seemed, even pre-season, he seemed half a second slower behind, not physically but mentally, with the speed of the game. And I said then, and I'm quite pleased with what I saw in his performance against Norwich, is that one, he seems a little bit more sharp and a bit more quicker to react to things now. But secondly, I don't know about you, because you watched the game live. I just felt he was a little bit more determined, a bit more physical. He got stuck in. There's a couple of times he's fighting for the ball, and I think even for their second goal, again, a real calamity between McNamara and Malone there. But if you look back, he was the player running back and trying to get back to stop that goal at the end. God knows where the rest of the midfield and the defenders were. But again, just showing that kind of determination, that kind of passion, that hunger and desire, that said a lot for me in that Norwich game. And I feel once he gets fitness levels up, starts starting games for us, he knows what he's got to do. He knows he's going to have to adjust and adapt himself to the English game. And I still stand by this. I think he will come good for us. And he could be the player that will just make us click. with the likes of Vogtsam playing up front with him as well, because I think Vogtsam will be excellent for us. I think he's a Mill type player. He gets stuck in. He's not afraid to have a go. He's determined. So give it time. Yeah, give it a few games. Let's see what these boys can do for us.
I feel stuck in a conflict because I'm sitting here asking these questions. I'm like, are we in a crisis? But we're not in a crisis because it's so early in the season. It's hard to get carried away. But it's like there's so many questions left unanswered, it feels like, when you're looking at our side. And it's like, if you go around it must be a great problem because you've got loads of different options in there at least. And like, it's up to him now to try and make it work together in gel, like we're saying there. With Fleming, like I was watching the game on Friday, and when you're watching it from the side, I just thought this was made from what I think of what Fleming is, because I've not seen enough of him to really say what type of player he is. But in them spaces, because especially with Norwich, a team coming at us, bombing forward, playing forward at the back, and their wing backs still overlapping. The midfield's trying to get forward and affect the game in the kind of the final third. That space in between the defensive midfield, I thought he would be perfect for it in the first half. And I felt like this was made for a number 10 like him to be in there, get that time on the ball, pick a pass, and then you set Bury away, you set Phobie away. And I think that's where, especially in the away games, maybe that's the answer we might have when he's fully fit and up to speed, if he performs like how we hope he does, because then you're going to see that player come into it and have that space in the midfield to unlock the game really for us. And I feel like just on Friday, like we had the time where we had the ball go forward and we was in there, but we just didn't really have that creativity, or it felt like we shored up defensively in the first half, but we just didn't have anything going forward. Like it's like almost they focused on after the Swansea game. Let's just try and be, this is how we're going to press. This is what we're going to do. Because I thought we pressed quite high and quite good against Norwich in the first half, and I was quite surprised by that because we've been sitting back in the Sheffield United and Swansea games.
Just to add to that, Omar, I mean, again, I'm only going by the extended highlights that I saw, but it did seem that, I don't know what minute it was when Vogtsam and Fleming came on, but it's like, send on the big guns. And you're thinking, great, this is brilliant. We're now actually putting the quality on the pitch. But I'm thinking, but why did we not start with the quality? Why did we not start with them and then maybe take them off in 65 minutes if they can't do a whole game, But that's when maybe the tide changed a little bit. That's probably we did look a little bit more adventurous, a bit more attack-minded, and we did look better on the ball. But again, like as you said, give it time. Give it a few games. I'm hoping and praying that he starts with Fleming and Vogtsam and maybe a Phobie as a sort of free up front against Reading on Saturday, and then maybe put Honeyman back in the centre midfield position and then do the box-to-box sort of stuff for us,
I wonder if that would be the lineup. I mean, I suppose that's a topic of debate. I mean, Chris, what do you reckon on obviously Fleming? I think what you're saying there, Joe, sorry, is Fleming only trained one day, didn't he? Right, and so did Bradshaw supposedly. So I guess it'd be a risk to play him, right? But Chris, what have you got to add on that, mate?
Yeah, I just think that because I saw quite a few people sort of on Twitter and things sort of say that we waited until 2-0 down to start playing, and I even referenced it in my post-chat thing. But I think on reflection, first of all, the players probably aren't fit to the point to start the game. Second of all, let's be honest, we do have a pragmatic manager, and he's going to start. His mindset is get to 60 minutes at 0-0, and then maybe we change it and try, and if we're in a position to go and win the game. And as much as we don't like that, that's nothing new. That's something that we've had has been his strategy for ages. And if we'd have got to 0-0 at 60 minutes, you'd have said that was a really good sort of away performance. So it's just them fine margins. And I think the third point, and this was the same as the Sheffield United game, it's very easy to be on top when a team is just defending a 2-0 lead. It's very easy to look like you're going for it and attacking, because ultimately
they're just sitting back.
We do it, bloody at 0-0, let alone 2-0 lead. So it's a very easy way to look at it. So I think I guess I'll slightly defend Rowett here. If he's still doing it when he's got all these options available and stuff like that, then maybe it's a bit different. But I just think that we need to wait and see where we end up. And who knows? They could be fit to start against Reading, or they might not be. I would love to see one of Fleming or Vogie start against Reading.
I agree with you there, mate. And I think you're right 100% what you say, especially the Sheffield United game. I can remember, albeit in a bit of a pissed state, thinking like everyone's like, oh, we're going to give it a go second half. Look at us go for it. I'm like, it's so easy for them to sit back and watch us like have the ball in the wide areas and win corners. I was like, if you want to tip on a bet, back Millwall to get 4 corners in the second half and just rally. And everyone's like, yeah, come on. It's easy to do when you're 2-0 down. I think you've hit the nail on the head there, Chris, because it's like, yeah, you're giving it a go, but the damage already done in the game, especially against the top side like Sheffield United. it's a good point there. I mean, Kai, I said we're talking obviously a bit about Saturday then, I guess, just because obviously we mentioned, the lineup. What would be like your front three, hopefully, for Saturday's game if they're all fit and ready to go?
Well, I think I'd love to see Fleming, Vogslammer, and Benicophobe up top. Well, however, I do feel a bit sorry for Tyler Bury if that does happen. I thought Bury was excellent against Norwich. And I thought that last season came into the side and I thought he looked really good. He's quick and raw and he looks skillful. This season, he just looks a class above that. He's stronger, which I was really impressed about. Because last season maybe he got knocked off the ball a little bit, maybe a few times, but this season he looks really strong. When he gets on the ball, he looks like he holds it up better. He goes up for headers. He tries to win headers. He has won a few as well. So I just think he looks a much better player this year and looks even better than last year now. So I do think it'd be harsh to drop Tyler Bury, but I just wonder for a game against Reading whether Benicophobe and Vogslam are a little bit of experience. And obviously to see Voggy come into the side would be nice and try and get Fleming playing balls in behind for both of them. And then if you brought in Bury on with half an hour to go with his pace, kept Fleming on and played them balls through to Bury and stuff like that, then you're looking at a really dangerous attack for the whole game. So I wouldn't be upset to see Bury start either because I think Bury's been excellent recently.
I think Kai touched on it there, Joe. Bury's a game changer, I feel like, a little bit to have off the bench. Like, it's a great option to, if you're looking for someone to unlock the game or if you just get them one-on-one with a fullback, like we've said obviously already in the show here, like half hour to go, tiring defenders, just get him on and get him to cause havoc, I think could be a good option to have for us.
I think we're lucky, very fortunate to have him. I mean, this season, going back to what Kai just said there, I have seen a big improvement on him. One of the biggest improvements I think I've seen is his confidence. Last season, maybe he was a little bit hesitant to sort of take the player on sometimes. He'd probably do it in drips and drabs, whereas now, I think as soon as he gets that ball, he's looking to take the defender on, he's looking to cut inside and make things happen, which is brilliant to see. Again, with everyone available, we're very fortunate to have such a big squad, I guess, in those sort of areas where we can bring on the likes of Tyler Bury to sort of change the game for us, as you say, like 65 minutes maybe, and come on. And that might even suit him, to be fair. I'm not quite sure if he's a 90-minute player just yet. To do what he does and to keep sprinting, making those runs for us, to do it every minute of the 90 minutes, it's going to be very, very difficult for him. So maybe we use him wisely and bring him on sort of 65 minutes and let him run, like you say, against tired defenders. He could cause some havoc for us. But the key is definitely having quality on the pitch, especially that attacking third. And you need to have Vogstam in there. You've got to have Fleming in there as well. Hopefully alongside a Phobie, and that'll give us hopefully some sort of impetus in that kind of final third in those areas. At the moment, I feel we're a little bit weak in those areas. Although I feel sorry for Honeyman because he scored against Coventry, didn't he, from that number 10 position. Mm-hmm. But I just feel that he probably do the same thing playing in centre mid. You know, we need someone who's a little bit more attack-minded, someone who's got a bit more of a presence in that area, which I keep saying again and again, it is Fleming. I think for us is going to be key for us the next few games.
You don't want to be next to me when I'm the designated driver, by the way. My mates are pissed off after the game, after Norwich, and I'm winding them up. A little bit tongue-in-cheek, but I said this. I was like, Bury is like the Championship Sterling in a sense. You don't really know what you're going to get from him, but he's got the knack as well, though. Like, players bounce off him, Chris. Like, I think not all players have this as well. Like, he's a winger where he could shrug him off, and obviously we saw against Coventry, he bodied a player, and I think he went flying the other way. But he also has the knack of players bouncing off him, which is not a thing that is just kind of given to any player. Like, it's a sort of a knack to it, I feel like, and that's something he's definitely developed this season, I feel like.
Yeah, and I agree with Kai's point earlier. He does look just stronger and also more mature in some of his performances in terms of the way, all right, he's not won every header and he's not always held the ball up well, but he's been asked to play a position that is not natural to him, and I think he's adopted to it quite well. I also agree. I think it would be unfair to drop him, but then at the same time, it's particularly this season with the 5 subs, it is very much a squad game. So in reality, you and I forget which manager it was. It might be Steve Cooper, but there's a mentality of you're all starters. It just depends at what minute I start you, sort of thing, and you kind of have an option around, right, well, Bury, you're 30 minutes, that kind of thing. So, I think it'd be interesting. And I won't say too much about Reading because I know we're going to do another show, but Reading back-to-back home wins against teams that not bad, and they're a weird team. They've got a couple of players that on their day get into any championship team. Lucas Zhao, Ovia Jaria. They're two players that very, very, very talented. So they're not going to come and lie down. It'd be really, really interesting to see what side he picks.
Stay tuned for our show later in the week and we'll preview it, I guess. We're going to wrap up part 1 anyway, and then we'll do a bit at the end for part 2 just to talk a bit about transfers. I mean, not a lot's happened. Nothing's happened, but we'll address that in part number 2 anyway, and then wrap up today's show. So back after this. All right, welcome to the second part of the show. Just to see us out for today's show, we'll talk a bit about transfers. Not a lot's happened. Obviously, Summer we've mentioned is the latest addition that joined just before the Coventry game, and he's now played 2 games for us off the bench. Kyle, there's been no transfer activity, mate. What's going on? Can you have a word with Gary and sort something out for us, or what?
Well, there's been a couple of reports recently, hasn't there, from News of Den, obviously South London Press as well. Gary said that they're hoping for one more. And then I think one of them, I think it might be the one to News of Den. He said that I'm hoping for one more, and then if anything else drops, then we'll look at that too. But it's been a good window, I think. We've added what we needed, and a couple more, and one more. Whether another one drops as well, we'll see what happens. But if we get one more, and I'll be pleased. It's been a really good window for us.
Notable absentee on the bench on Friday was George Evans, I'm pretty sure. I keep thinking there's going to be some outs, then maybe it opens up maybe another in. I don't know what you think, Chris. I feel like there's a couple of players that are maybe surplus to requirements, it feels like. I don't know what you think. Yeah,
and I think some of our injuries have probably stalled that a little bit. I think, the likes of Fleming, obviously Bradshaw, and now Bennett, I think may have impacted some of the players, particularly the likes of Alafe and maybe Topolo going out on loan and getting some experience. I think Evans is the obvious sort of first teamer, if you like, that could end up on his way out. He's a weird one, isn't he? I remember he sort of came in and I think he played right centre back for his sort of first 5 or 6 games, and he looked really good, actually. I was like, we've got a serious player on, and then after that, he's just sort of dwindled, and I can't really see him getting in the team amongst anyone else. But I think to Kai's point, it's been a good window. I would like to see us bring in 1 or 2 more. I think we lack pace in the team still for me. I think we lack creativity, and I think we could do with some competition from Malone, as per what we talked about earlier. So that would kind of be where I'd be focusing my efforts if I could have 1 more.
So is it Cian Fleming, Ben Kofobi, George Honeyman, Jamie Shackleton, Charlie Creswell, Fogelstammer, and then who's the other one? Come on.
Truman.
Sorry?
Truman, the goalkeeper.
Of course. Well, yeah. Well, okay. 6 signings, not 7. What are we gonna add? I mean, Joe, if you had the world of Millwall to pick from, and you wanted to bring someone else in, maybe a wing back, maybe, I feel like.
100%. I think we definitely need a left wing back. Again, McNamara is not quite there at the moment, but we know what he can do. Hopefully, in the next sort of few games, once we pick up a bit of form, his performance will improve as well. Definitely on the left wing back. So I think Malone is definitely on the decline at the moment. Not quite sure what it is, but we need somebody who can not just challenge him for his position, but someone who can surpass him. We need someone with real quality, where Malone's look at this guy thinking, wow, this guy's a level above me. That's what we're needing. And the guy who I really liked was that Coventry left wing back. I can't remember what his name is now. God.
Right wing back was Bidwell was good. Yeah.
Bidwell. Yeah. I mean, he's aggressive. He's tenacious. He's fast. He gets forward. He's direct. I think he got the assist, I think, didn't he, for their goal, I think, for the first one.
Yeah,
so
definitely. I think
somebody like him, who can give us a bit of drive, a bit of strength there. I just feel Malone's a little bit lightweight. He's suffering badly from confidence. I think I've mentioned it in previous shows. When I watch the players playing, Mitchell wants the ball, Honeyman wants the ball. They're all kind of wanting the ball. He almost shies away a little bit. He doesn't want the ball. Every time Murray Wallace getting the ball and looks at him, he's kind of pointing to someone else. telling them to go back or go somewhere else, And when a player starts doing that, straight away mentally, they're not quite right in the head for whatever reason. They're struggling. So he needs to snap out of that. He needs to be wanting the ball. He needs to be, driving forward and getting those attacking first and getting back to the player we know he is. And quite frankly, if he can't do that, then we need to act now and get somebody in that's going to do that for us and give us a bit more of an attacking option. That's an important position. Like you say, a lot of clubs are playing the wing-back system at the moment in this league. And I think it's so vital you get your wing-backs right because they are key to your performance. If you've got shit wing-backs, you might as well scrap the game plan, the formation, because it ain't going to work, is it? It's imperative that we get that right. And I think, Rowett, hopefully, we'll be looking to bring somebody in quite soon before the transfer windows are up and over.
I know Nathan Byrne's gone to the MLS, Kai, so it's not going to be Nathan Byrne, who is obviously linked with who can play both sides at wing back. I'm going to throw you a live grenade, Kai. Who was the New York Red Bulls player who was linked with? What was his name? You're going to know it. Come on.
Was it Lewis Morgan?
There you go. What position was he? Was he a winger or?
He was a striker. It came out of an MLS.
Yeah.
Strange one, but no, it's linked to us and Huddersfield to it. So don't know. I mean, he scored. I think he scored 11 goals and 21 appearances this season for New York Red Bulls. So it looks like he knows where the back of the net is. But it's a weird one, and nothing else has been said of that since, has it? So
what was his pro? How old was he? Do you know what his profile was?
5.
He's the type of player I feel like Fleming was the random link, wasn't he, in January? So it wouldn't surprise me if we went for someone like him maybe next season or something, or it's just kind of like a constant link that maybe Rowett admires or wants. Maybe that I don't know. Maybe we'll be surprised and we'll go and sign him on deadline day or something, which you never know what can happen. I mean, Joe, I think Chris was saying opposite. Joe was saying that wing backs is obviously the option he wants to address there and said Bidwell. Any other names that maybe come out to you, mate, or someone that you can maybe pluck into the conversation for us?
Yeah, so I think Joe Bryan of Fulham is available from what I'm reading. I wouldn't call him a wing back, if I'm being honest. He's more of a left back, but he's very, very, very good at this level. And he's also a really good sort of set piece taker as well. So someone like him, I'd bite your hand off for. Alternatively, you go for someone a little bit more athletic and sort of more of an attack-minded fullback. I know there was a lad at West Ham that we were linked with at the start of the season, and it popped back up a few weeks ago, who fits the bill. So I'm not even going to try and Congolo or something. I don't know, something like that. So they're a couple of names. And then we've also been linked with not a fullback, another striker, but the young lad from Shamrock Rovers, who apparently we've made a couple of bids for. I think he's like an 18-year-old striker. But they've come out and said he won't be sold this window. So I don't know if that's a non-goer. But I'd love Joe Bryant to answer your question. I think he's a player that seems to be available, and he's in London. Just pop over the river, and there you go.
Pop over the river. Are they not? Is Fulham not the same side of the river, or is that the other side of the river? Fulham's just on our side.
They're just over north of the river, aren't they? I think
they're
just over the Putney Bridge. Yeah.
Well, I feel that's a little bit of I feel like they're just our side, but I could be wrong.
No idea.
A name I would like to pluck in there for the wing back position was Dujon Sterling at Chelsea. He was on loan at Blackpool last season. This is my just complete kind of ambition. I'd love to see a side someone like that. He played against us for Blackpool last season when we lost at Bloomfield Roads, and he played right back first half, and then he played left back second half, and just kept us quiet the whole game. I don't know. He's been linked with QPR, I'm pretty sure, in the window, and to Preston. I think he's got an injury in a minute, but I'd love to see us go for something like that. Just go ambitious and get a big loan in like that from the Premier League or something. It'd be interesting if we could do that. But Brian's a good shout as well, to be fair, Chris. So watch your space. I mean, Kai, any other names that we maybe missed out that's been linked to us, or is that all it's been so far?
I think that's pretty much it. Yeah, I mean, it'd be nice to get as Chris said, Joe Bryan's a good player, isn't he? He's gone up with Fulham both times. So if he is available to leave Fulham, definitely be one that I would like to sign. He's good. He's got a good championship pedigree, hasn't he? So yeah, let's hope someone like that will come in.
I think he's a profile. He's 28 years old only, Joe Bryan still. So he's not like old per se, is he? I suppose, Chris. He still could be a valid option to definitely come in and do some business for us in the Championship.
Definitely, and let's be honest. Joe talked about adding someone with quality that's going to move us forward, and he definitely fits that bill. Whether he fits the salary structure and what we can do, and whether we're a desirable enough option for him, I don't know. But yeah, someone of that caliber, I think, is what we need to be looking for. And if we was to bring in, a strong left back, then I think you have to say fair play to the club in terms of the business they've done. Cresswell and Afobe, to me, just replaced two players that were there last year, Afobe for Afobe and Ballard for Cresswell. So I kind of don't count them. But the rest of the players have definitely added quality all over the pitch. So fair play if we can make that happen.
I think Daniel Ballard got injured for Sunderland in other news. As you mentioned, Cresswell coming in. I think he's out for 2 months, I think I saw the other day. So, interesting.
You're smiling there, Omer.
I'm not smiling. I just think it's interesting. The rumour was the club decided against it because they're worried to sign him on permanent for his injuries, and he's gone to get injured. At least he's not going to score against us at the Stadium of Light in a couple of weeks' time, right? That's the only thing I thought about when I saw that. I was like,
Ellis Sims will, though, mate.
Yeah, he's scoring, isn't he? He's two goals.
Chris will be crying. I think Chris will definitely walk out if he scores against us, won't you, Chris?
Honestly, I've had to take all my posters down.
You can't get the tattoo removed, though, can you, though, mate?
That's on his backside.
Job is in a place that no one could see, mate.
Well, we've come to the closing stage of the show today, anyway, guys. And Kai, thank you for joining me as always, mate.
No, I enjoyed it, mate. Thank you very much for having me.
Joe, thanks for joining, mate.
Cheers for having us on, guys. We enjoyed it. Cheers, Omer.
And thank you, Chris, mate.
Top man. Really enjoyed it. Thank you very much. And
thanks to Mickey for not coming tonight, but we powered through without you. Go on, Joe.
Just wanted to mention, I don't think it's been a while since we had a show on, but we didn't mention about Bob Pearson as well.
Yes,
passing away. So just an honourable mention to Bob Pearson. I mean, the old generation of Millwall players will know him very, very well. He played a big part in their lives, their careers, and giving them the football foundation, the platform to go on and achieve not just good things with Millwall, but even with other clubs gone beyond that. And he's a big part of Millwall and in the youth setup, bringing youngsters in and scouting, the top talent we're lucky to have. So thanks obviously to him for everything he's done for us, and on behalf of all Millwall fans, we wish him and his family well, and God bless.
Well said, mate. I think Mickey, if I'm not mistaken, he won't remember saying he's working on a couple of bits, I think, on social.
Yeah, I think he was here. I think he'll definitely mention. That's why I thought I'd mention before.
I think he's working on one or two things, so keep your eyes peeled for that potentially. So I'll say that for now, anyway. But yeah, thanks for that, and guys, thanks for coming in and tuning in, and thanks everyone for watching and listening online. So always appreciated. We're going to go. Check us out on our socials at That Mill Pods, and like and comment and give us some feedback and tell us what you think. So thanks, guys, and we'll see you in a bit.